To think, they haven't made it through the first training camp. We're just a few days. We're not even halfway through training camp, and there's already an issue. Some comments Ron Rivera has made about Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders now, the greatest black coach in the history of the NFL, according to all the pundits. He worked under Andy Reid and devised that entire Andy Reid offense that won the Chiefs 2 Super Bowls. Now he's an offensive coordinator with the Washington Commanders. And I find it very interesting that Ron Rivera shared with the media this week that some of the Washington Commander players have come to Ron Rivera and say, "Hey man, what's up with Eric Bieniemy? What's going on? He's too intense. He's too in your face." And these are Commanders players. And Ron then asked the players, "Hey, you know, go sit down with Eric and try to work it out and blah, blah, blah." I find it fascinating that Ron Rivera shared this information that Eric Bieniemy's off to a bit of a rough start, and I'm sure Ron tried to put a positive spin on it, but there's no reason to share this information unless there are already problems and Ron Rivera is trying to dominate the narrative off the top. Because if the Commanders struggle, there's going to be the media saying, you know, they should fire Ron Rivera and make Eric Bieniemy the head coach. And that could be halfway through the season. That could be 4 games into the season. And Ron Rivera has now entered into the narrative like, hey, these offensive players ain't even really on board with Eric Bieniemy. Don't come rushing in here to have him replace me.
Jason, to paraphrase the great Chris Berman, this shows right here that Riverboat Ron was never wanting to sleep with Bieniemy. This shows me right there this was never his guy. This was forced upon him, and this was like a social justice move that, okay, I'll take Bieniemy. I'll be the good guy. I'll get social credit points. But shame on Ron. He's got to be a football coach, and I think his statement should have been to those players, tough, deal with it. It's football. It's a tough game. This is the coach you have. We'll all have to make this work. Bottom line. Honestly, I'm actually disappointed in Rivera. Regardless if that was your number one choice or not, you have to at least early on, before snap is took, you got to tell these players, yeah, toughen up. This is football. Everyone knew what they were getting with Eric Bieniemy, because if you go back all the way to his days as a running back coach, and I've seen the footage, he did not care that Adrian Peterson may have been the best football player in the world. He coached him hard. I respected that because he was not going to allow an all-time great talent to ever underachieve, and they had a combative relationship. No matter what you want to think about his acumen on the chalkboard with the X's and O's, I really do like that about Coach Bieniemy, that he is old school football. And the other thing that gets me, and you talk about this a lot, I have a question about those players that went to complain to Coach Rivera. I would love to know, were they the white guys or the black players? I thought the black players wanted leadership that looked more like them. So my view is, if it is black players, shame on you guys, because you guys have to make this work. Because don't you want more opportunities for coaches of your skin tone? Isn't that the big word? Or does that not apply now if the guy screams too much?
I don't think black players have been leading the push, not in a real way, for black coaches. Former black players have been leading that push, sitting around talking on ESPN. But the current ones, they want guys that can help them put up numbers, win games, and get big contracts. That's all they care about. Care less what color the coach is. Can he design an offense that will allow me to put up numbers and get a big contract and win games? And so I'm not surprised if you look at his history with Travis Kelce, look at his history with Patrick Mahomes. Listen, Eric Bieniemy, I think, is a terrific position coach in the NFL. Old school guy, going to be hard on the player. Great coach for Adrian Peterson. He's been promoted, in my view, beyond his competence level to offensive coordinator. He rode Andy Reid's coattails, and the media narrative campaign, the racial grievance industry, to being the greatest offensive coordinator in the history and must be named a head coach. And we haven't even gotten out of his first training camp with a new organization, and there's already problems. I'm not surprised. I don't expect this to go well. I've been skeptical of the whole thing. He's a media creation. I'm not trying to beat up on him. He's a position coach in the NFL. He got to hold that clipboard and pretend to be the offensive coordinator in Kansas City for 3-4 years or whatever. The media used him to look how virtue signal and look how tough I am on the racist NFL. And now the Washington Commanders are going to have to deal with the reality of Eric Bieniemy. And he's a position coach that is operating as offensive coordinator. And I would tend to suspect Ron Rivera sees like, whoa, I got a running back coach running my offense. And there's more pressure now on whoever the quarterback's coach is to help with the offense. And to think they haven't made it through the first training camp. We're few days. We're not even halfway through training camp, and there's already an issue.
Jason, we're not even to the first exhibition game. Jason, we're not even, forget first camp. Jason, they haven't even kicked off the first exhibition game. So let's fast forward 7-8 weeks. It's like week 4 and 5. And let's say these, what are they called now? The Commanders, okay? Let's say they're averaging 16 points a game. What do you think the mood in that locker room or those offensive meetings is going to be like? This really reminds me a lot of when Luke Walton took over for the Lakers about, 7-8 years ago. All right, so the Golden State Warriors begin this great run. Lakers are struggling. We're kind of into the abyss post-Kobe. And I'll never forget, everyone was so excited because Luke Walton, former Laker, won championships with our organization, had come back. And everyone's excited because he's in that Warrior system and he learned. And I was like, I had to be me. I was like, hey, guys, I got a question. I like Luke. Love his father. Good Laker. Is he bringing Steph and Clay with him? Because if not, we are still a bad. Guess what? Luke was not as smart without those two guys. It was amazing. So I would get. I'm just going to make an assumption here. Without Kelsey and Mahomes, the offensive IQ of Eric Bieniemy, it also dips 100 points without them.
Like what you saw? Hit that like button, subscribe, and check out the full episode by clicking the link below.